Um, there are a few people that I have been more excited to have a conversation with. And if it happens to be on a podcast, so be it. But I have just been wanting to talk to you for the longest time. For those that are listening, this is Tara Reynolds. She is the founder of Peace Love Autism. And if you haven't seen her on social media, please start following her because she's just an incredible individual. I got to tell you, Tara, like you're the cool kid on the moms with autistic kids playground, okay?
No, I'm not cool. I'm so cringe. I'm so cringe, but I'm free. So maybe it comes across as cool. I don't know.
You got moves, okay? You got moves. You got a very cool store. You're clearly very fashionable, and we're going to talk a lot about your fashion in a bit. But if you're not familiar with Peace Love Autism, so it started off as just like an online kind of store, and
hmm
then it's evolved an actual brick and mortar store, and now you have
hmm
even more things that you're creating. So
hmm
please tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I first started Peace Love Autism as a true like passion project back in 2020. I had a full-time job that I loved. I was a manager to stylists and then later moved on to managing interior designers at a company. And so I really like, I was that career-driven woman. I've always loved like fashion and interior. So I thought this could just be a great passion project because my son was diagnosed in March of 2019. The
Okay.
next month was my first Autism Awareness Month. So I'm like, okay, light it up blue, I guess. I don't know. I don't know anything,
Yeah.
but I need to
Yeah.
get a shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go and I try to find a shirt and I'm like, eh,
I
I
know.
don't
I
I
know.
don't like any
Yeah.
of this.
It's just, I know. I
It's
got
just
it.
not my style.
No.
And I really wanted to like wear it not just the month of April.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how do I do this? So I used like a print on demand service called Teespring. I later moved to Spreadshop. So I used both of those platforms and all I had to do was upload my designs onto these products. And they weren't like my favorite products that I could ever choose, but I didn't have to put any money into it. I didn't have to do any work. I had no overhead. I just got to get my shirts that I wanted. And then I decided I want to share them out to my small little Instagram community. And so that's kind of how it started. And I went through this period that I think a lot of us do when our kids are first diagnosed, where we're like angry at the system and like wish that things were better. So my talent and my passion has always been like fashion. So I'm like, okay, this is the arena I can throw my hat into to try to give back and be, the change, a small change. And so since I had a full-time job and we were good, I donated all the proceeds every month back to a nonprofit that I chose that month, or like a GoFundMe for people who
Sure.
were trying to raise funds for their autistic child. And it was really such a great way for me to feel like I was creatively
Sure.
coping
Sure.
and doing something like that I
Yeah.
loved, but also I was giving back. And when you do like a print on demand service like I was doing, the margins, girl, they are small. They're small.
100% know that because of the vest. And we can
hmm
talk about that. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's extremely small.
super small. And then also too, like the way the products were being printed, they weren't like as super high quality as the stuff that we
Yeah.
we do now is. Um, so I learned a lot. And anyway, I went through this period where I'm like, okay, my son was getting older. I wanted to have more freedom outside of, the corporate 8 to 5, 9 to 5. And summer, there
Yeah.
are no programs here if I wanted to get Rob into school because he was at therapy at the time. And so I
Right.
was like, okay, I'd like to like transition into something else before I was forced to. So I started a savings period in 2022. Um, and I told my audience, my customers, hey, every month, we're still going to be giving back, but we will be like saving to bring this, to life in a way in which like it's my full-time job and I can deliver like better quality products and all of that. So
Yeah.
we went to a savings period, and then March of 2023, I quit. I put in my notice, and then May 3rd of 2023, we launched, like, where it was like fully online. Everything was brought in-house, and it has been going ever since. It's been wild.
Right. You have an incredible amount of followers. I mean, that's, and social media is your most obvious, your word of mouth for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because like this community, like we show up for each other. And I think that's what, like, it's not like I just created the store and it was like, boom. You know, we have known and supported and spoken to each other for years. And so there is that, like, it's like I love to support other people that are doing their things too, to put good back into the world or make small changes in their efforts within the autism community. So it's like we all love to support each other. And it's just been like so wonderful.
I think that's a fun thing to bring up because a lot of us on the social media platform that have larger, my account's somewhat bigger on TikTok than it is on Instagram, but it's definitely, things have been growing a lot on Instagram fast.
Yes.
But a lot of us have so much respect for each other. We really try to help each other. I got to tell you, this is so funny, Tara, because you used to repost a lot of the things I did on your story. And I am so old that I had no idea what that was. And I didn't even know what was happening. Like, what is a story? How are you reposting? Am I supposed to do something about this?
Because you were on TikTok, so like you knew what to do there.
I knew what to do over there. I didn't know what to do on Instagram. And you're sharing things, and I'm like, am I supposed to add something? Like, what is the protocol? And I was like sending you messages like, if I'm doing something wrong, like.
No, I was like, no, you're not supposed to do anything. I share. It's so funny, like the social media etiquette. Like you just never know.
It is, but that's exactly right. And I know, I mean, I can't imagine that you get that clobbered on social media for anything that you do. I mean, because you don't really do anything controversial. Do you get clobbered at all?
So I really have taken a step back into pouring out my thoughts and my feelings on my other page, my Tara Reynolds page, because I got
follow this.
You do. You follow it. Yeah. Can
I just say, as strange as this may sound, I am rarely on social media. Like I post and see ya.
You post and ghost. I love that. That's so healthy. It's because you're either consuming or you're putting it out, and you can't do both as equally. It's rough. It is so rough. But yeah, so like I've been kind of taking a break because I got a lot of moms in the community that were being just like vile and rude, and then, random like trolls, and it was too much for me. So I was just like way too sensitive and protective of Rob, and he's getting older, and it was just, I felt like naturally I wanted to take a step back. I didn't want to force anything. I had been sharing for so long because it really truly was like helping me to just share like in kind of more of an poetic, artsy way with reels or words, like how I was feeling and how I was really learning how to let Rob like lead and show me just this new way of life that I wasn't prepared for. So yeah, like I really haven't been sharing a lot on there. I love the shop page because that's where I really feel like my free bird, creative, like artsy spirit gets to come out. And it's like, it feels safe too. It feels like a safe place, if that makes sense. Cause I want to like, do you get a lot of hate on TikTok?
Facebook is where most of the hate is.
Really?
I had the funniest story about Facebook is that I decided I can only do so much. So I just did TikTok and Instagram, but Instagram was automatically posting to Facebook and I didn't even know it.
Yes, that's what happens to so many people. And they're like, wait, I just saw like a bunch of hate comments on Facebook and I had no idea I was on there.
Well, the funny thing was I went to Facebook one day thinking I had like, Facebook, I don't give it any attention. I think I had like 2,000 followers to my page. Yeah. And I went on one day and I had like 34,000 followers. on. But here's the part about Facebook that a lot of people aren't aware. You know so much about a person based on what social media platform they spend the most amount of time. So on Facebook, when I went to the comments, when I finally am like, why am I so big on Facebook? People have their own conversations. Like, you don't even have to be there.
Yes.
And they fight and they go back and forth. And that's what Facebook wants. Facebook they don't care if you're commenting. They just want to make sure that people are engaged.
Yes.
And I was putting out all these fights and I was, somewhat defend. And then I was just like, well, it is what it is. It was a good lesson to me in that I don't always have to have like the last word, or I don't always have to be involved. I can just, I can step away because there's a lot of people who have my back. And you know that from social media. There's a lot of people that have your back.
Yeah, it's the noise. It's the most negative comments. They're the noisiest ones. They're the loudest. So it feels like that is the opinion of whatever it is you're sharing.
Yeah.
And it's really not. Like, out of like one of those comments, there are 100 that are super encouraging or supportive.
Right.
But you don't hear that because you just get into defense mode, or like, oh my God, I've been misunderstood. Let me over explain myself. And it's so unhealthy.
Let's add to that. You get 99% phenomenal. You're a great mom. You're so sweet. I love your stuff, comments. And then you get one negative one and you just completely perseverate on that one negative one. Like that just kind of haunts you. Although I will say that the negative ones often teach me to speak better. They teach me to watch the way I word things. They teach me that not everybody, is on board with my beliefs. So maybe rather than condemn them, my lesson is to find a better way to explain it.
Yeah,
And
you're so good at that. You are very, I don't know, I respect the way that you converse with your followers, because I feel like I have seen someone say something negative to you before and you were just like truly just so thoughtful with your response. And for me, I'm like, I either disengage. Well, now I just disengage. I don't, because I used to like fight back and get defensive, and I learned it did nothing for me or my point of view. It never would get across to anyone. But you're so right. Like, even if something is said with a little like shade or saltiness, I do take that back and I'll reflect and be like, I can still believe this, but hold space for someone who has a different lived experience with ABA or with, whatever, and be super respectful and be open to their opinion. But it's like the people that are just so nasty, where I'm like, bye, block, be blocked and blessed.
Right. And that's the other thing is like, we don't care about blocking people. We're not looking for, to be the number one engager on social media. So we just don't care as much about that. And so, we're just going to block. And part of it too, is I don't want my followers to get bullied. I don't want,
you don't want them to feel.
Yes. Especially when somebody says, like, somebody will say, like, why does Joey stuff his arms in his coat? And then somebody will rip their head off, like, well, it's because da 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 da. And it's like, it's okay. You can ask a question. Like, it's understandable. So I understand that sometimes people are being protective of me, but on the other hand, we are here to help each other learn. And I don't know about you, but I have learned so much from my followers about so many different things. Like, it truly is a gift to me to be able to engage with them.
Yes. Like, I don't feel like an educator on any topic. Like, I feel like the only expert I'm an expert on is Rob, like my child and our experience.
Yeah.
But I have learned way more on Instagram specifically and social media from people sharing than I have from any like doctor or therapist. And like Rob has worked with a great team of therapists, but like I'm a lot of times coming to them with information because they're in their day to day. They're not as passionate as we are when we're like searching and keeping up with new and progressive information, because the world of autism, if anything, is always changing. We're always learning more. And
it's so true.
And like, there's nothing like that gets shared quicker than on social media.
I was just talking to Dr. Taylor Day. I don't know if you follow her. I
Yeah.
think you do. She was
Yes.
on my podcast. It's actually going to be airing this week. And when we were talking about that whole criteria and all of the importance of having these studies, but the fact that these studies take
Year.
years to come out. So you have to be understanding that life experience is also like a study in its own. And so we have to look at all of it. We have to look at what the studies have been done. Sure, there's interest in that, but also who funded the study and, all these other pieces of it as well. And then
Yes.
look in what are the life experiences. But the other challenge with life experiences is like, especially if it's like a medication or a supplement or something, a lot of times parents will see like an immediate help. This works. And then 2 weeks later, it's not working anymore or it's going downhill. And you typically don't see the follow up to that. You see the excitement of the initial, and as much as I do with our kids. Like what works today may not work tomorrow. So
Yes.
there is a reason for studies, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But tell me more about, so you have you have all these great sayings. Where, for the most part, where do you come up with the ideas for these beautiful sayings that are on your shirts
Yeah.
and hats?
So honestly, people always ask me that because I come out with new things all the time. It's my favorite part of what I do. It's the easiest part of what I do, is like the simplest answer I have. I am a true like creative, and it's how I, navigate this world
Yeah.
is by just creating, whether it be like when I was coping through sharing my thoughts and feelings on Instagram with reels and like short writings and snippets, or coming up with a shirt design. I'm a person who, that's how I like to express myself, is through art. And like I shared with you, I've worked in fashion. I went to school for that. That was like my interest for all of
Yeah.
my adolescence. And so I love to style my clothes and everything. And so the ideas just always come. The shirt, though, that I will say that I think kind of like took off and got the name out there was our
Right.
Happy Noises shirt. So that was like,
So interesting.
yeah. Yeah. And so it's been a continued product in like our collection. We're actually like releasing like an iteration of the original design. I posted on my Instagram, but because we're going to be celebrating 5 years in May. And so, yeah, I mean, it's so much fun. It's so easy for me. I take a lot of inspiration from like vintage band tees, from
Right.
like fun colorways that I'll see on another shirt. I'll like to bring it over, and love getting inspiration. But really, like, the stimming is self-care, inclusion is the vibe. You had me at inclusive. Just like all these things,
It's so cool.
it just like came to me.
Obviously, it's doing well, and so
Yeah.
you opened up an actual store in Texas.
Yes.
And where is
Yes.
it in Texas?
So it's in a little small town out on the outskirts of Houston called Tomball, Texas. And I'm telling you, if you haven't been, you need to get into the cracks of downtown and you'll understand, like, okay, wow, this really truly feels like a little community. It's full of mom and pop shops and everyone just kind of like supporting each other and celebrating like the small businesses. There's a lot of like festivals and like sip and shop nights and just like neighborly attitude, which is amazing.
So good.
But it's funny because so it's a bunch of houses. And so these little homes have been turned into like businesses. And then as the streets kind of like
fun.
expand out, yeah, the houses are like regular homes and Airbnbs and whatnot. But like the few streets in downtown, like they're houses that turned into businesses. And so I remember when I found the first house that I wanted to rent, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I was so excited. I called and emailed the like commercial, the leasing company, and would not leave them alone. She wouldn't even take me on a tour. she was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I have to like go through different applications, but don't worry. Like, I'll get back to you." And I was like, can you like crack up the blinds for me so I can see? Go peek through the windows. Like,
Did you
I
tell her
really,
what you wanted to do? Is that
yes.
what
Well,
she
and
was?
that's the thing. So like, I told her, I was like,
Yeah.
I will be the best tenant. This is what I
Yeah.
want to do. She didn't understand it. She's like, "What?" And she wasn't negative or anything like that, or she just
Yeah.
didn't get it. And so I remember like feeling so just down when she let me know that she rented it to someone else. And so I paused for like a month, and then I found this one property, and it's a little bit like we're still in Old Town Tomball, but it's like right over the tracks. So you're not really in the downtown where you're walking. You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
like park your car and
I get it.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, but when I pulled up and I looked at it and I spoke to my now landlord, Renee, the vibe I got was just like, she wants me here. She can
So good.
understand that I can't vocalize what it is I'm wanting. I can't articulate like and put into words, but she just knew. She's like, I knew you like had this vision and I was going to trust it. And so I got into contract. The house did not look anything like it looks now. I mean, it's like night and day.
Well, I remember when you first started posting about your new space and how different it looks. And
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been there since we officially opened in November, and I told my dad, which he was never a part of the plan. He came and helped me hang up shelves and because he was like
so
worried.
cute.
He was like, "I'm going to help you hang up shelves." And then he like wouldn't like every day he kept showing up, and then he just like never left. So he's my
Oh,
first like official employee. Like he's now
so
officially employed.
incredible. Oh, I love
I
that.
know. So it's really cool. And the best part about this is like I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a strategy to get customers in the door. It wasn't about that. And I kept trying to explain that to family and friends, and people didn't understand. And I'm like, I feel like it's like Field of Dreams. Like we're just going to build it and the community's going to come, because it doesn't seem like there's a big community out here, but I know there is, because I needed this place when my son was diagnosed. I would have been here. I needed a place to celebrate my child. And so that's exactly why it was born. Is it's not just about the clothes, it's about the community. The slogan is come for the clothes, stay for the community, because I want people to walk in and feel like we're not talking about deficits here. We're not having to explain why our child does something. It's a happy home, and we're going to come in and we're going to do whatever we need to do. If you need to cry about not getting sleep for the last month, you
Right.
come cry with us and I'll pour you a glass of champagne.
Oh,
Or if you need to come and celebrate that your child said their first word, we're going to pour you a glass of champagne and jump up and down and cry happy tears. Like that's what this place is. And it has been since we opened. And so the
uh,
community has come. And if you look at our community wall, it's incredible. Like I can't get over the fact that so many beautiful faces and families have walked through those doors. And we don't even have great shopping hours. We're not even open on the weekends. We're open Wednesday through Friday from 10 to 2 so that I can be a mom first. And it's just been incredible.
I would come. I would like
And
make that a destination whenever I get to Texas, I will make it a
yes.
destination.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because we talked about this a while ago, but a friend of mine who is a phenomenal yoga instructor and lots of other, she does a lot of great breath work and things. She and I are starting a series of retreats, and we are
Yes.
so we need to bring one of them to your town for sure.
Oh, yes, we're doing it.
Our first one's going to be in Kansas City, and it's a nice, easy location to get to. And we're basically at a giant Airbnb where moms can be together for a weekend
Well,
and
I'm
kind of
coming to that. So you
Okay.
better tell me
I
when this
will.
is,
Oh my
because
gosh. This
we can
this
have
is
it
gonna
here. We can have it here, but I'm coming to that one.
okay,
I want to
good.
be a
Good.
participant.
I'm so excited about it. I think it's something that is really necessary right now. The same reason why you have the store is that there used to be a time when we used to get together for conferences. I mean, that's
Mhm.
how we got information out. And so these moms would get together, and now everything's online. So we have our online friends, but we're not connected anymore. And there is a
Mhm.
totally different vibe when you are in a room that you feel safe with people who totally know what you're going through.
Yes.
And so we want to start making these like little mini weekend retreats all throughout the country. And I don't want to limit it to moms. I think we'll eventually get into the dad market as well too. I think that
Yeah.
would be really powerful to do that, or even couples.
Yes.
But we have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere.
So we're starting this fall.
And
Yeah.
that's so amazing. But you know what also is so great too about getting together in person, because I'll die on the hill that the online community saved me. Like
Oh yeah.
I said, it taught me so many things. It educated me and on a whole nother level. But there's something about getting together in person, because the thing I love about us is we have all kinds of different lived experiences, point of views, opinions. There's always like a divisive topic, right? But when we all get together, there's context and people believe each other. So if someone's saying like, I understand like ABA or whatever, but like we have such a great provider, like if anyone wants to,
Yeah.
and then there's the person who hates ABA that's like, oh, that's great that you found that person. But online, it's like,
Oh, right.
it's
not
it's
safe.
it's awful. It's not
Yeah.
safe. There's no. So that's
Right.
the thing I love. It's
100%.
like in our shop, we don't discuss politics. We don't judge each other. We
Right.
don't spew like hateful opinions about these divisive topics. We're there to listen and to understand, like, okay, you're medicating your child because you're telling me all of this, and like I believe you, and it's working really well. That's amazing. I'm not ready to do that. I love that you've shared that, and that's been something that's been so helpful for you and your family. That's what it's about. And so that's why it's
So
like
true.
and that's something too. I was talking to Lauren. I was like, I'm so excited to finally get to talk to Betsy, because I feel like you have been doing this for so long. You could be jaded. You could have all these opinions formed. You could be like, I don't need to learn anything else. You know what I mean? Like you could be like this person that is like, I'm seasoned. I'm fine. But I feel like, and just like with your energy, like with everything you've gone through with being a mom, without social media, without all these connections, like you're still showing up, holding space for people who might disagree with you, learning, continuing to unlearn, right? As we all should be for the rest
Which
of our
is huge.
lives.
Right.
And that's why I respect, how you show up for this community so much. And that's what I want to do. I never want to isolate anyone or limit the community, if that makes sense.
That's so appreciated. I do deeply appreciate that. And it's been kind of remarkable of the transformation that Joey has made in the time that I started posting. I'm also, every now and then, on this day will pop up on TikTok of something I posted 4 years ago. And I'm like, wow, I do not believe that anymore. Or
That's
I
crazy.
would never say that now. And I think,
Yeah.
wow, how far I have come. I definitely don't feel, here's what it comes down to. If you put 100 people in a room and you focus on things that I don't get along with you about, things that I don't agree with you on, you could find something you don't get along with every single person in that room. If you wanted to pick a fight, you could find a subject with everybody in that room to pick a fight about. Or you can turn it in the opposite way and you can find something to agree with. No matter what their political is, no matter, what path that they're following, you can find something to agree with. So my passion is look for the things that you can agree about. And if a topic comes up that you're both starting to get a little squirmy in, move along, because you don't need to get along with every single time. And that is way too much pressure to even put on friendships, even on a marriage. You don't need to agree on everything. You are not the same person. You are your own individual with your own, and you've walked a different walk than all these people. I have seen things in my life that are incredible, that when I have a passion towards something, people say, how could you believe that? Because it's what I've experienced. So it's something that we all, and going back to a lot of the sayings and even the Be Kind vest, and I knew when I put it out there that I would get really clobbered for the labeling type of feel that it gives. I get that. I also never intended for Joey to wear it all the time.
Yeah. That part right there too. It's like we never intended. I never said I'm going to grow up and make autism awareness clothing. Do you know? It's
No.
just like what is it's how God guided me to be able to give back
Right.
with my talents. And that's like saying like you weren't like, okay, I'm gonna get Joey in a vest.
Right. That is my goal.
An experience happened and it presented itself. Wait, tell me how
Exactly.
that happened again. Like, what was like the moment
Yeah.
that you were like, okay,
So
I'm
what
going to make
happened
this
is
vest?
no, it was great. We were living in San Francisco and I was cycling with him. And every
Hmm.
single time we were on the bikes, people would yell at him because he's not courteous. It's not that he's not, it's just that he doesn't have the motor. He's very courteous. It's just that he
Hmm.
doesn't have the motor skills to recognize when somebody wants you to go left when you need to go. Like he just doesn't have the skills for that. So he was constantly getting berated and yelled at over and over again when we were, and then we would scream, either Ron or I would scream, he's autistic.
Be nice, be kind.
A lot of swear words, a lot of swear words. And say, sorry, I didn't know. And then we'd be like, it's okay. And it's just like, you're trying to do this on a bike,
On
okay?
a bike.
Like, like passing or your car is going by. And I said, if we could just quickly convey to people really, really fast, he's
Hmm.
autistic. So
Hmm.
I just went and I bought this vest and I just got iron-on letters and all I said on it was autism. That's like, that's all I said. I think I said
Yeah.
autism on one side and autistic on the other because I didn't know which word I should
Yeah.
use. And then all of a sudden, Ron and I were in tears. We took him on a bike ride and it was thumbs up or please go ahead or great job or, you got so happy that you're out here. Are you having a good time? It changed overnight. And we were thinking, okay, so clearly we're on to something. And when I tell you that for night after night for months, I kept hearing the voice, you need to make this, you need to make this a thing. And I
Hmm.
kept saying, nope, that's not me. That's not me. You want to tell somebody else to do this, right? And like,
Yeah.
no, it was until I finally made them. And then I made
Yeah.
them and I had no sales whatsoever because I didn't have a way to tell people. And people were very much clobbering me on Facebook, which was my only piece at the time. And then one day I just started making videos on TikTok and all of a sudden the orders started coming in. And now we've sold probably about 500 of them all over the world and
Wow.
maybe more, 600 maybe. It's not huge numbers and it's okay with that. But the feedback that I get, as I'm sure with your clients, the
Hmm.
feedback that you get when people all of a sudden get it or they ask questions or they want to know more, it's such a beautiful way of conveying a message when there's a word to explain something, a few words to explain things.
Yes, and it's so interesting because when I first started making these shirts, I was like, this is great. Like, I can be at the park with Rob and silently advocate and
Yes.
silently spread this message of, reminding people that you don't know everyone's story and, yada, yada, yada. So I thought of it as a way to proudly display like my celebration of my autistic child and advocating for how he might quote unquote behave in public. Well, what
Yeah.
I didn't realize is once I started selling and we got more customers, is the messages that were coming through. Thank you so much. I made an autism mom friend because she saw and read my
Oh,
shirt and she was like,
oh,
oh, wait, I'm an autism mom. And so it's been bringing people together. So it has this like duality to the t-shirt. It's like you're
yeah,
sharing
right.
your heart, but then you're inviting someone else in to connect with you because they have a cousin who, is autistic or their
Right.
daughter was just diagnosed. So it's that has been
We
like,
can't squelch curiosity. Like we,
yes,
we don't want
exactly.
to squelch curiosity.
Yes,
Curiosity is how we start learning. And when
exactly.
parents get very angry when people stare at their child,
Hmm.
but on the other hand, how are they supposed to learn about
Hmm.
many of the different ways that people can behave? I mean, I get tremendous stares at just due to the fact that Joey stuffs his arms in his coat all the time, and people think I'm doing that to him.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of pain in me with the onlookers and the negative comments that I was somehow putting my son in a straitjacket, not respecting the fact that he feels good when his arms are tucked. So that's when it comes to the job as the parent. Are you more concerned about what other people are thinking, or are you more concerned about the comfort of your child? And
Exactly.
if Joey wants to wear his vest, if Joey wants to tuck his arms in and it's keeping him regulated and comfortable, then
Hmm.
what others think of me is none of my business. It's just passing thoughts. And
Hmm.
if I can go through it with a smile and not feeling the guilt, you you just, it becomes numbing after a while. You just don't even care.
Yeah, I need to like get on that level because I still, I, I,
Yeah,
it, I, on a bad day, like, you know what I mean? Because we all have them. I want to just like someone for
I have.
giving a look or being like, oh my gosh, you know.
Or stare at them meanly back. Like, what are you
Right.
looking at?
Yeah. What are you looking at? I want to take a picture. Well, and that reminds me too of that movie about Temple Grandin with Claire Danes. And she
Yeah,
was
yeah,
explaining at the conference, like, she made that machine to hug her so that she could get these hugs. And it's like, that's exactly what Joey's doing.
yeah.
And so, how, I mean, if we want to like really throw out the word ableism and all of that. Well,
Sure.
even just making the recommendation that you're doing something to Joey and that he didn't choose to put his arms in there himself. Like it, you know what I mean? So it's just like there's so much like education that still needs to be done. And I
Yeah.
think the way that you and I are trying to do that is by these garments that are proudly displaying that we're our children are autistic, or I have adults, a lot of adults who wear the shirt autistic and awesome, and like, please be respectful, please be kind, and please learn something today. Okay.
This is a face of autism. This is the face. This is
Yes.
one of many faces because they get to learn the mannerisms and things, and then it helps them recognize it, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the other piece of it, is that there may be somebody not wearing it, but they saw Joey wearing it and they saw what he does. That person does it too. I wonder. So you're actually helping educate those who may not have a way of explaining it. And
Totally.
the one thing I always try to tell people is that when they accuse me of labeling, it's like labeling can be extremely helpful. You know, I had a video for a while. I talked about, I went cycling one time and there was a man cycling who had a shirt on that said deaf. And that was a really important label because I knew he couldn't hear my on the left. And so you sometimes have to. Part of it is the fact that I don't look at autism as a bad word. That's the
Exactly.
thing that I think a lot of people think is like, oh, I'm labeling him with like, you know, he's not smart or something like that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, he has autism. Please make accommodations for
Yes.
whatever situation is presented in front of you.
Yes, he is processing the world differently. I have gotten that comment before too. Ew, autism on a shirt, exploiting a diagnosis. And I'm like, okay, really? Like, there can,
Gives me comfort that you get it too. Like, I'm,
yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I know.
I mean, I just cannot, but it goes back to what we were saying earlier, how there is always going to be someone and some small thing of something really good that someone can pick apart and make negative. I mean, it just is always going to happen. We could cure world hunger and someone would be like, well, what about the aliens in space? Are we
Oh
like,
my gosh.
you
I
know,
know.
like
I
that.
know. It's absolutely impossible. You know, and speaking of that one, I want to
Hmm.
ask you, I have been really clobbered for using the term autism mom before.
Oh, yeah.
And what are your feelings about saying that? I mean, I, I can kind of get where they're coming from, but on the other hand, it is a very particular description that helps me understand where someone's at. And saying autism mom is a powerful words, two
Yeah.
words. So what do you think about
No,
that?
I don't know. I've never understood villainizing moms for using that term. I truly think there have been, I think people have come across content that was truly like exploitive of children and showing meltdowns and things like that. And I think that's where the umbrella was then formed of like, these are autism moms. And so like you said, and like we've said earlier on this episode, we always try to like figure out and understand where other people are coming from and maybe what they saw to have this strong opinion. But I am just fine with the term. I call myself an autism mom raising an autistic child, like whatever floats your boat, but do not reduce me down to a term that you might not agree with. It's like autistic and has autism. It's like that sort of thing.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not using the label to negatively speak about autism. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Exactly.
you can't really win, but that's my thoughts
Well,
on it.
here's where I think the challenges for certain people is, and I can see this and understand it. There are a lot of speaking individuals who are autistic, and they did not have caring moms. A lot of them, obviously, a lot of them do. I'm just saying there are many that didn't
I get
because,
comments all the time saying, I wish that my mom
right,
supported me in this way. As I'm
exactly.
sure you do.
All the time, all the time. And it's beautiful for some of them. Some of them are just angry about it because they wish they had had that. And some of them are just a little saddened by, that I got a raw deal, which I get it. That has to be very, very difficult to have to mask your entire life and try to be somebody you're not because your mother or father didn't understand.
Yeah.
So I can see when our beautiful camaraderie of moms who are so passionate and so caring and so wanting to help, somebody who didn't have that sees that and thinks, oh, autism moms, yeah, like,
And maybe their mom used that term as a way to victimize themselves. Like, oh God, I'm an
Perfectly said.
autism mom. I'm, my life sucks and it's hard. I'm an autism. So I totally understand that. But I
I want to talk about that,
yeah.
Tara, because victimization is one. If there is any message that I could convey to my listeners and my followers, it's to pull yourself away from the victimhood. And we are not saying that it is not hard and that you aren't in a difficult situation. The problem is holding yourself in that victimhood isolates you from a lot of really great things as well too. So when
many
you
great.
so withdraw from the world, society, from friendships because of the anger of what has happened to your family dynamic. When you fully withdraw from that, you're missing out so much goodness. And it doesn't matter what your spiritual belief is, there is some reason for everything. There is I can imagine that you were definitely one of the moms that like really, because you're so attractive, because you have this wonderful husband and this gorgeous comfortable life. I can imagine that like when you're in those positions that you get very, very strong about, life is going to be this way. And then all of a sudden it hits you, and now the cool mom, the beautiful mom, the well-off mom is trying to get 5 hours of sleep in a row.
Yeah. Well, and what we didn't talk about is John, my husband, and I, we had Henry, who is 14, almost 15. We had him first. So I was a regular mom for 7 years with the best, everything was so easy. Okay. So let's talk about that. I mean, not to get too deep into it, because I know that I could talk about this all the time. But with the whiplash and thinking, oh, I'm ready to have another one. Okay, I've got this. I'll just do everything the same. And so I think that's why my story, my testimony, whatever, to becoming a better person, because I'm not, done being better. I'm not quote unquote healed. I am always going to be growing and getting better and healing for the rest of my life. That is my personal goal, if I have any goal.
Building that capacity. That's it. Building the capacity.
But guess what? I did not have that goal at all when I was, just la-da-da-da through life. Like, we'll be at the birthday party. See you at the, whatever,
and
festival.
I bet your presents had beautiful bows. I bet when you gave a birthday gift, It was gorgeous.
I mean, I was the life of the party. I was so social, I was just like
I
ready.
know that about you.
So, I mean, not to say I had like everything was easy, but that part was easy. And so I think I don't want to deny the grief process because I grieved and I felt so sorry for myself and I honor that part of me and because it taught me how to get out of that space because like you said,
Yeah.
I would have missed out on so many beautiful, wonderful things. And I think that's what happens and why I am so like just like radical about supporting moms, autism moms, moms raising autistic children, whatever floats your boat, because it starts with us. If we are supported, it trickles down into our children, like full stop. And so
Yes.
that's why I'm like, if I never found this community that totally changed me, and if I didn't, go through all these conversations and figuring out like I was doing things wrong and I had the wrong mindset, I don't know what kind of mom I would be. I don't think I would be a healthy support for my son. And so that's
No,
why it's like so
and just
important.
human, not even as a mom, just as a
Yes.
human, because we have built so much resilience, we've built so much capacity, we've built so much empathy that when I think of who I would be without all of the lessons that I have learned from Joey, I shudder at it. You're not going to volunteer to do this, okay? There are moms that have adopted children, and my hat's off to you.
Yeah.
But we don't, most of us, this has been assigned to us, and we can look at it in different ways. We can look at it as we got the short end of the stick, or we can look at it as, what is this meant to, where is this going to bring me? And to have that ability to look at people differently with empathy and love and understanding and celebrate diversity and all the differences that we grow in our capacity. It is my favorite thing about my life.
Yes.
I'm not saying that I'm not glorifying that when my son has a meltdown, isn't this great? It's teaching me something. I'm not saying I love it, but if I can walk out right now and just say Joey doesn't have meltdowns anymore, I would totally take that card.
Oh, I would take that away in a second to take away the hurt and the meltdowns that they go through.
How many times do you say to God or universe or whatever, just like, okay, I'm good now. Like, I have learned all I need to learn.
Oh my
Can
God.
we make it easier?
Yeah, I yell at God all the time because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
that was loud.
yeah,
That was loud in the
yeah.
mic. But I have beef with God a lot of times, but like I'm
Yeah.
still like, trusting the plan.
Right.
It's hilarious.
So true. Well, here I am at my son, soon to be 32, and still going through the motions and feeling so much purpose to my life. And what would my purpose in my life be before? We all, everybody has some sort of challenge that they are faced up against. Even the most wealthy, the most people that you think have the easiest life, just watch The White Lotus and you'll see how
Oh my
many,
God.
right?
What a crazy last
Every
episode.
time I watch The White Lotus, I just say, I do not need to be rich to be happy.
No, not at all. No, that's so funny. But it's so true. It's like we have to like break down to break through and like build ourselves back. Like, and that's exactly what this experience is. Yeah, no, the White Lotus last week, like that. And,
Right?
I'm like, excuse me. But you know who I'm loving? Piper. No, I freaking love.
Oh my gosh, that's the best impersonation ever.
She's like, I almost had a grand mal seizure.
Like, gosh, that is the best. By the way, for anybody listening to this down the road, we're talking about season 3.
We certainly are. No spoilers,
So
but
are you a television watcher or
oh
series
yeah.
watcher? Yeah, you melt down.
Escapism.
Sleep at night, right?
Yeah, that is my escapism is reality TV, like The Housewives. I love like a lot of Bravo shows, but I really love like White Lotus. I love a lot of like those types of good like series. So
Yeah.
because I home a lot. Like I've learned how to like be in a healthy isolation because the home is safe for everyone.
Right.
So I've really, I mean, not to kind of like take a turn, but yeah, TV is like something that brings me joy because I am home a lot. And that was hard to come to terms with because a lot of times Rob won't want to leave. So it's not like we're keeping him here, you know?
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of times we're like,
Oh,
Rob, let's go here. And he's like,
that sounds so good.
right. You,
I
Joey always wants to take you places on and adventures.
always we are always, but now I only have him here Wednesdays and Thursdays and every other weekend. It's so funny because when Ron and I were relieved of some of our duties, we thought we were going to be like out and doing fun things and going to live music, and we're just so happy to just sit at home and not have to go anywhere. It's like a
Hmm.
rainy day is so welcome that we get to actually stay inside our cozy house instead of have to be at a beach somewhere in the rain to keep him happy. Um, so it's made a big difference. But yeah, I mean that can be pros and cons of that for sure. Um, but yeah, no. One quick question about
Hmm.
I've been seeing some things on social media for you lately about are you have a new center? Like, is there an extension? Tell me
Yes.
what about that.
Okay, so the shop I'm in now was an old house from 1932, and my landlord Renee bought the property with just that one house on it and then added on three buildings. So her building is the two-story one that you'll see in a lot of like pictures and videos. That's her like
Okay.
Remax Realtor work
Okay.
office. And then there's a middle building, and then there's my building on the end. The middle building, the tenant just left. And that's the other thing is like when I rented this space initially, I remember looking at that and it was a sweet woman who did like cranial therapy, like
Oh
massages
yeah.
and stuff. It was like,
Yeah.
but I remember looking at it and I was like, oh, if she ever leaves, like I think I'm gonna try to like lease this. Like, but you know, she'll probably be here a while. And then she came by and she told me that she was leaving. And I thought, oh, well, this isn't the right time. Or, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. Like, I thought like this would be a thought later down the road. And then, I don't know, it just kind of happened. I looked at my dad and I was like, Dad, we need this space. We, my dream is to create a village, you know? And so that's what we're calling this building. It's the Village at Peace Love Autism because it has like more space to have more chairs when we have like workshops and presenters. And when we do like this weekend, we're doing a DIR floor time presentation that an SLP's leading. And
Oh, I
then,
love floor time.
yeah, and then after that, we're going to have a gentle yoga flow that an autism mom is teaching. So I know. So it's like this beautiful like space. And anyway, I'm someone who I make decisions now as an you know that I've gone through so much. I trust my gut and like if I feel a peace on my heart, if I don't feel anxious or stressed about making a decision, I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. So when I got the keys from Renee and I looked around, I was like, okay, let's do it. This is what we're supposed to be here. I just feel it. And I'm not rich by any means. Let me just say that. Like am a firm believer of putting the money we make back into the
Right.
community, our local community and our nationwide community. So that's why we partner with Channing's Joy. Every quarter, a portion of our proceeds go back to Channing's Joy because they serve families nationwide and 100% of their proceeds go back. And so, you know, the message support your local autism community is not just like a cool, yeah, man, let's like wear it on a shirt, which is great. Like, let's spread the message and plant the idea in a stranger's head or whatever. But I really, truly do want to like pour back into it. So this is more of an investment back into the community than like a way for me to generate income. You know what I mean?
I love
So,
this. I
yeah.
love the idea of this, and I love that the community that you're creating. And I hope the Chamber of Commerce is taking note and being like very proud of what they have in their.
Well, you know what's crazy is my dad, like God, he's like my little PR guy because he's my dad, like your biggest cheerleader or
Or
your parents.
Yeah.
So he's like, Tara, we got to get to the chamber. We got to do a ribbon cutting. And I'm like, no, Dad, like, that's not what it's about, man. Like, we just got to like be here, and like have people show up. And, I don't need to go
But
to
you're a
town.
destination.
Yeah, I just want it to, I don't know. I don't want to put like pressure on it. I don't know.
It's okay. I will vote for your dad's side on this one because I think it's with the chamber, it's not so much as putting pressure as it is helping more people know about it. And
Yeah.
coming to a store like yours is a destination, is a reason to come to the city for that. I am sure you have had people drive very, very far just to come to your store
We
and
have.
experience it.
We
I
have.
would.
It's been amazing. And this Friday, our local Fox station's going to come and do a interview. So I don't know. Maybe it'll end up on the cutting room floor. I don't know.
Hey, I
But
knew you win. That's great. It's going to go really well. And then I'm going to drop that podcast.
well, your desk is or your vest is going to be in the shots, which I
Yay.
do want to talk about. I would love to do, speaking of pressure, no pressure, take this back
Yeah,
and think about it. But how fun would it be to like create a vest together to sell on the site?
let's do it. So I bought a bunch of blank vests.
Okay.
So I have a ton of blank vests. And like you said at the very beginning, I had no idea how ridiculously expensive because I had some of them. What I had is I had a bunch of them made with non-speaking be kind and special needs be kind and I've sold those. But I have a ton of just blank vests. So let's collaborate.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to get with my production team because I'm pretty sure that we can even have them print them for us and everything so that you don't have to do
Oh,
anything. You just relax and
let's do it. Let's
collaborate.
do it. There's nobody I'd be more honored to work with. I would absolutely love that. Can you let people know how to find you, both your website as well as social media handles?
Yes. So website's just peaceloveautism.com. And then our Instagram is Peace Love Autism Shop. And I mean, we're trying on TikTok. I don't know. So that one's Peace Love Autism. And we need to get you on the podcast, which is
I would
out.
love it.
Yeah,
I
it's
would love it.
our first rodeo.
So our first rodeo?
Because you know how
I did not know about this.
everyone's like, this isn't my first rodeo, and we're over here like this.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Actually, this is my first rodeo.
This is the best name ever. It is really fun, this whole podcast world. I had no intention of starting a podcast. The problem, as you know, is that you only have 1 minute to capture, maybe you can speak for 3 minutes to capture somebody on social media. And it really limits what you can say because you can't really touch something controversial very well in 3 minutes. Like you need more time to give you the reasons for it.
Exactly
And
like we were talking about. The context is so important.
yeah, and it's fun. I also find it just incredibly educational to learn from all these great people that are on my guest, and it's fun. It's really becoming the way that people are listening to information in general. So
Yeah, well,
it's
you're so easy to talk to. I'm sure everyone you're emailing, they're like, yes, I'll be there.
I trying to talk the optometrist into it. But I probably need to see the design. So if you're out there and you're a developmental or type of optometrist or does eye therapy, please
Well,
get back.
shoot me a message and I'll put it on question box too on my Instagram.
Great idea.
Yes, I'll say Betsy is looking for, I don't even know what you just said, optometrist, but let's try to find one.
The optometry thing is funny because I did not know that Joey had eye problems, and it was my followers that started pointing out all these things that Joey does that showed that he was having binocular vision. And they're
Wow.
like, look what he does. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. So I took him and found out that he has this issue, and that's why he has his glasses, which are a whole drama situation on their own. You can imagine how hard it is to have an individual with glasses, and then you add it to somebody who's impulsive.
Oh, yeah.
It's really fun. Very
Well,
costly.
I've heard of this binocular vision. There's a friend that I'm connected with on TikTok and on Instagram now. Her name's Michelle, and she is a late diagnosed autistic adult, and she was diagnosed with binocular vision. And she was saying like how it could come across as like you won't ever know that you had it. And she said a follower noticed the same thing about her, but like the signs are like anxiety, like dizziness, like motion sickness, things like that. And
How do we know that?
how
Right.
do we know?
I know.
So, okay, we need to figure this out. Maybe I'll ask Michelle too, like, do you think your person would be down?
I think it'd be good. I think we need to do more things. We can co-do podcasts. I think I want to have you back on more often because I think now that we've gotten like our missions out of the way, I think doing just more talking about our own experiences and how we can help better support because I think you have
Yes.
the exact same mission as me is I
Yeah.
just want to support these parents. Of
Yes.
course I love the individuals that that are autistic or have
Yes.
autism, whatever you want to say. Of course I love them. There's no question. But if we don't help the other moms, it's going to be harder in their life. And I want
Exactly.
to help the people that support them and
Yes.
help lift them up and feel empowered. And so that's when I, like you, that's who I'm preaching to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we learn so much from the autistic community and we're bringing that into the conversation as moms to other moms or
Yes.
parents so that we
Yes.
that can trickle down into their own homes. And yeah, it's a flow that we're just trying to create and I'm with you. So bring me back anytime. I will chat all things. I want to time. Okay. I want to hear about, you
Okay,
know.
girl, wait till you get through menopause and then you have to deal with that plus autism. That's really fun. Okay, you're the
God.
best. I just adore you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on today.
Thank you, Betsy.
You're so great. See you next week, everybody. Bye bye.